Hey everybody, welcome back to This Deluxe Life TV. My name is T, and this is my husband.
Kareem, what's going on, everybody?
And we are here back again to tell you about Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 5. But before we jump into that, I want to remind you to go ahead and subscribe to our channel, like our video, and jump into the comments. Talk back to us. You may agree with us, disagree with us. We want to hear from you. And before we go on, I wanted Kareem to tell you about his channel.
Check out All the Way Live Media for all types of cool, nerdy, sci-fi, geeky content.
It's good.
Give me a holler. I'm sorry, she was expecting me to talk a little bit more, but I mean, you know.
It's all right. All right, let's jump into it. Who you want to start with?
I don't know. Let's start with Olajuwon and Katina.
Okay, yep. O
we never really
and
start
K.
with them.
K-O. Knockout. I mean, I don't know what that means in their context, but I don't know. Anyway, Katina and Olajuwon. So, I felt like there were some sweet moments this episode. There was also some weird moments this episode.
Yeah.
So,
Olajuwon going to Olajuwon, really. It's just one of those things, like, you know, he's the extra person, and he's not just the extra, he's the unnecessary kind of guy.
He really is.
Yeah.
But we also see Katina kind of meet that unnecessary extra.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely think that she's, you know, she can match his extra when she wants to.
So one way that we saw that happened was when Katina went off on Lindsey on the catamaran.
Yeah.
I felt like, and Kareem, you know, also feels the same. That was totally uncalled for.
It was. I mean, you know, I think the world dragged Lindsey last week
and the week before, and rightly so.
Yeah, and you know, because we did it. Like, we wasn't happy with how she reacted. We felt like it was actually violent and dangerous the way she treated Olajuwon. Even the way she described it was violent and dangerous. And you might think of violence as just being, you know, physical violence, but no, there's always that potential for pretty much inciting ugliness towards one person.
There's levels to this.
Yeah, and I think what she did was she tried to sway public opinion because she knows millions of people are going to watch this and think that he's just this huge, black, angry man that's ready to beat her. And you know, so no, nobody was feeling that. At least nobody I came across.
And even though it didn't come out until this past week, we kind of were under the impression that there was alcohol involved, and then we found out there was 3 bottles of wine involved.
Oh goodness!
Like, I mean, I love wine.
But that's a lot.
Really do. I can't drink 3 hours of wine on a flight.
3 bottles,
or 3 bottles of wine. Thank you.
That's a lot.
So yeah. But nevertheless, we're talking about Katina. That's not what they was discussing, though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It was like totally out of the context of the conversation.
It wasn't out of context of the conversation, but it didn't need to be said right there. And the reason why I think it was not out of context of the conversation is Lindsey was saying she had an ex who was a different person when he was drunk.
Yeah.
And that he was not kind.
Yeah. And
Katina was like, do you realize that you just did that? And I understand what Katina's coming from, because yes, Lindsey did just do that, you know, but Lindsey, as we discussed last night when we watched it, she does have a right to talk about former relationships, all those kinds of things. I mean, you know, like, that's what the conversation is about.
And that's pretty much a part of the show.
Right.
Like, everybody talks about, like, their past relationships, experiences, drama. And she deserves the right to do that. And if every time she's in your presence, she brings up an issue, and then you bring up the issue that you have with her, I think that's, you know, that's unfair. And
I do think, you know, for Katina, especially because we know that she was heated about the situation, and rightly so, I would have been too. We know that this was still fresh for her. Like, this was only like the next day,
yeah, it was
right?
Yesterday for them.
So, you know, so I get it that this was still a little fresh, but at the same time, Mark had already apologized. Even though Olajuwon said that he didn't need an apology, Lindsey still DM'd him on Instagram and apologized. And whether or not you all, you know, accepted her apology or not, you at least outwardly acted like you did. let that rest for a minute. You know what I mean? Like, this is not what we're talking about right now. So I kind of felt like Katina was out of pocket. Olajuwon was here for it, though. He was like, my girl was defending me, and I wasn't even there. I married the right one. I was like, all right, we all, you know.
Well, because you never want your partner to feel like, you know, especially when they're taking up for you, you don't want them to feel like they just out there wilding out, which, you know, we probably going to get a little bit into that with another couple a little bit later. But just back to Olajuwon and Katina, they do seem to be kind of able to match each other's levels of extraness. We saw
also tenderness, not just extraness,
that's what I was bringing
tenderness.
We saw some tender moments with them towards the end of the episode. They definitely seem to share affection for him. I think they got busy. I think they got busy, but I don't know. We might never find out.
But the funny thing is, you mean like after that night?
When he closed the door.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
When he's shutting the door.
Here's what was cracking me up.
Bow chicka wow wow.
Here's what was cracking me up. The other couples was like on the beach and stuff. Olajuwon was like, set up a romantic dinner on the beach.
He's like,
put them rose petals on the bed, production.
He had the production team put rose petals in the shape of hearts on the bed. I mean, you know, that's pretty much, and you see that. I mean, we saw that a lot. Like last season, we saw stuff like that. So it's just common for the show. But I mean, Katina seemed to be, she was impressed by it. She enjoyed it.
But it was fun. I mean, like literally while everybody else is having like this romantic dinner on the beach. And maybe they did have a romantic dinner on the beach prior to that. Yeah. You know, we didn't see that part maybe, you know. But it was just such a stark contrast. It was like all these other couples were like sitting there with the winds blowing and the waves crashing behind them and all of that. I could just picture the sun or the sand in the sea. And, you know, it was like,
it's time. It's been 2 whole days.
I think we were on day 4 by that point.
Okay.
But
4 whole days.
But what also was like, if y'all did just come in from outside or wherever y'all was, he just like sat her down the bed, and next thing you know, you just see oil dripping down her foot, and his massaging her foot. I was like, y'all could have rinsed that off, or you know, something. But she was fine. She was fine. But I wouldn't say falling for it, because I don't think it was not genuine.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he was manipulating her. He was romancing her.
Yeah, he was romancing her. Yes,
and she was with it. Yes. She was with the business, and then they played it off. They didn't even play it off. They played up to, you know, pretty much the end of that scene where, you know, my man slid the door closed while she stepped into the bathroom.
But prior to all of that,
because we skipped over a lot of stuff to get. Yes.
Karina's like, I'm just trying to let you know. I think they got busy.
They got busy.
But prior to all of that, they had like a really nice conversation about like Olajuwon was again expressing, you know, what he wants to do for her and be to her and protect her always and all of that. And I still think Olajuwon is immature, and all the things I think about Olajuwon, I don't think those things are less true. But I also like that he did seem sincere in what he was saying. He seemed like he was like kind of tearing up a little bit. Yeah. And even in her confessional, in fact, even before the confessional, like we first started giving her the foot rub, you could see on her face, like she looked like she wanted to cry right then. Mm-hmm. And then like in her confessional, she was just like, I've never had anybody be this nice to me before. And I mean, and everybody does deserve to feel that. So yeah. I'm glad that she felt that. One other thing I wanted to mention about Katina and Olajuwon before we move on to another couple is them in the gym. So
yeah, that was a thing.
It was weird. So and I understand after Olajuwon was talking with, you know, the guys, how he was kind of saying like he set up a situation where he knew it was gonna like be really hard or make her uncomfortable.
Yeah, there was going to be some kind of he was intentionally trying to make her, you know, feel uncomfortable. See, he was trying to see how far he can push her until she pushes back.
Right. But I think from what he said to the guys, he wanted to see if she would stand up for herself, and she did, and he was happy that she did.
Yeah.
So, because he was making it sound like that he doesn't want a pushover, and he doesn't want her to just be like putting her best foot forward just because they just got married. You know, he wants her to like be comfortable enough to be herself. And, you know, he was happy that she did that. Nevertheless, I think you could have went about that a whole nother way.
It was a little condescending.
I think the way he did it, yeah, that was not cool.
It's a little condescending.
Like, don't be testing people. You know what I mean?
It was condescending. And and to this point, she hasn't tested him at all, really.
No.
She hasn't done anything. Like, she really, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall her really saying like a whole lot of, my husband's got to do this, my husband's got to do that.
No.
I think she's really just wants somebody that appreciates and, you know, that appreciates and takes care of her.
Right.
And, you know, he's showing that. So he's giving us that in this episode. And, you know, I kind of like where it's going. I think sometimes even some people come off more immature than they actually are. And I got Olajuwon back. Like, that's my guy.
Okay.
That's my guy.
Who we want to move on to?
Noi and Steve.
Noi and Steve. Okay. Production is saying to Noi, you know, so like, do you feel like you're falling in love with him? Like they like totally set her up. And she was like, yeah, I can feel that's happening. And then, you know, they're like, go tell him. And she kind of slinks over, her shoulders are all hunched and rounded, and she goes and sits on the little retaining wall, and she says, I have something to tell you. Production asked me if I was falling in love with you, and I told him I could slowly see that happening. And then Steve was like,
okay. Alright, cool.
Thanks.
Nah. You know, there are gentler ways to do that without even lying to the person.
Right.
You know, and maybe he's just not a tactful person where he thinks about what he's going to say before he says it, and you put him in a situation like that, which is a highly charged, emotionally charged situation. And
because her face went wah wah wah.
Yeah, she tried to play it off like it after, but you could see like you can't hide your facial expressions like.
And she doesn't hide her facial expressions at all. So
you caught it, but she tried to play it off like, you know, she didn't feel like he, you know, pulled the rug out from under her a little bit, but you could tell like he definitely he wasn't ready to hear it in his defense. But it's not like she really said, I love you.
Right. Like
you know what I mean?
Right. That's not what she said. She said she could slowly see that happening. And based on the conversations that they had been having about how comfortable they were with each other and all of those things, I could see how she would have expected him to say something akin to, I'm really feeling you too. I'm really happy with where this is going. I feel really comfortable with you. Like he could have just like went right into that. And that would have been, I think, sufficient because she didn't say I love you, so he didn't have to say I love you too. But like he could have like immediately started affirming her. Instead, he said okay, realized that was wrong, and then said, "Oh, it's just been a couple of days," and then started saying, "But I like where this is going," and then, you know, like.
He tried to clean it up. She seemed like she's forgiving because I don't even think she really said anything in her confessional. No, she said something in her confessional, but she didn't express like disappointment.
And she did express disappointment to him, but like she wasn't like taking herself too seriously either. She knew it was an awkward situation.
Well, that's good. I mean, props to her for, you know, pretty much keeping her big girl pants on and not, you know, letting it totally ruin
derail
her feelings. You know what I'm saying? Because he definitely could have did that better, and I do believe he cares about her.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe
as much
her.
as you can for 4 days in.
Yeah, but you know, y'all still married. I think there is that's going to come with a lot of just inherent connection, and I think
we know that's not true.
Well, yeah,
we know that's not true.
Yeah, that's true because I mean it's evident by the show.
Just this, you know, this season alone, we know that's not true.
But you know, people refuse to make the connection. But y'all building, like they're definitely building. They're definitely on the path towards, you know, becoming a serious couple. I can see that out of them. I do think that they have, they have similar but not the same personalities. There is some divergence, some separance there. Like when they were talking about like the camping, and she didn't want to camp.
She said as long as it's indoors.
Yeah.
He said, I would want you to try it. She was like, okay, as long as it's inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he just like looked at her like, it's not what camping is, right?
This man lived out his car for a year, you know what I'm saying? So, and she definitely wouldn't do that. But y'all don't have to, as a married couple, y'all don't have to do everything together.
You definitely don't, but from what he said, this is a big part of who he is. And I feel like the experts should have pegged that when they chose somebody for him. If you know that this is a big part of who he is, that's what he likes to do, that he wants to do. He wants to be on the road. He wants to be camping and like those types of things. You should also pick somebody who's outdoorsy in the same ways, that likes hiking and like all those kinds of things, that could get down with that. So that way he's not having to then compromise that whole side of himself, to, be able to spend time with his wife.
But to what extent, is that, important? Like he can always go camping. Like you can take a weekend or two, a couple weekends out the year, maybe, and go camping.
But when you're saying that's a big part of who you are,
if you're trying to go live on the road again, that's your fault for getting married.
Going back to what I said about Steve and his whole process to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't believe Steve should have been in this process.
But we do have to see like the overall. We gotta see the overall outcome of it, though. We gotta see how he's going to respond to not being able to, go camping the way he wants to go camping, or like live out of his car for a year. Let's just see how that reality hits him. We haven't seen that yet, let's just see how that reality hits him. And
so they did have a nice dinner on the beach, and they seem to be again having good conversation, getting along really well, and expressing to each other that they do feel very comfortable, and they know this is an awkward situation. They had some pool moments. They had the dinner on the beach moment. But the conversation that I'm thinking of on the beach is when Noi was saying that like she can read his facial expressions. And, she was like, so are you ready for bed? And he was like, and he's like, I think I have a meeting. And she was like, do you have to poop? Because that's a poop face. He was like, yeah. And like they're having like this open conversation about like, okay, we've only known each other 3/4 days. Like when do you poop around each other? Like when do you, when do you be human around, your spouse for the first time,
I don't know. I guess, as we already know, I did say that marriage comes with the inherent connection. If you're willing to make that connection, hey, just go for
it. Poop away.
Bombs away.
You know who else be pooping around each other? Lindsey and Mark.
yeah, that's it. So another example of a couple that got together kind of too hard, too fast. I guess we might as well talk about Lindsey and Mark.
Yeah.
So Lindsey, we touched on the topic of, Lindsey and Katina. I knew it because Sakina, so I'm getting it confused with. But
now you got me saying it wrong. Katina.
I'm sorry. So Katina. So Lindsey and Katina got into, a little shouting match back and forth. And it was really back and forth. I think Katina
it was Katina.
Katina was doing the shouting. Katina's not...
And it didn't last long. Katina was like, I'm out.
Katina's not over the situation between Lindsey and Olajuwon.
Yeah.
And she wanted to pretty much get her thing off. She wanted to, say what she had to say. and she saw an opening and she went for it.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, it was not.
I think it was poor form.
Yeah,
but,
it wasn't it wasn't necessary and wasn't needed, because at the end of the day, the Olajuwon was cool with it. Olajuwon was cool with the situation. He wasn't letting it take him down.
Yeah.
Any longer.
Yeah.
And he seemed to get.
And that's what he kept saying to Katina. Like, let's focus on us. We don't need to focus on that.
Yeah.
Thank you, but we don't have to keep dwelling there. So the episode started out with the producers asking Lindsey and Mark, and they probably, obviously, I think they know the answers already, but they asking Lindsey and Mark if they've consummated their marriage. Lindsey's giggling, which of course that means they have. Okay, and then the group is playing 20 never have I ever. Thank you. And they reveal that they have,
and that was like the worst game of never have I ever seen.
Oh my god!
Because nobody wanted to play. Like, why?
Nobody wanted to play, but also Olajuwon wanted to play too much.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Man.
So let's just roll back to Katina and Olajuwon for just 1 second. Because he was like, who's had threesomes? Well, if she wanted to, I'll be down. And like, you see that clearly she's not down. Like, can you stop though?
Everybody's uncomfortable.
Everybody.
Every single body at the... Like, how you do that, bro? Like even Lindsey was uncomfortable.
And she's never uncomfortable.
Lindsey's been the queen of cringe this whole series, like this whole season. And here go Olajuwon was like, yeah, I'm gonna top that. And he's like, y'all ever mess with somebody in their relative?
And they knew it. And guess what? I picked them up from the airport too.
And
the little dog too.
Yeah, so I messed with a woman and her mother. I was like, bro. And because when you saying that, I'm thinking he about to say he got with a girl and her cousin or something like that. Maybe a girl and her sister.
He said her mother.
This dude said, I messed with a girl and her mother.
And he said, they said, did they know about it? He said, like, yeah, I picked them up from the airport one time.
And and then he's talking about threesomes. It raises so many questions, and I'm just like,
and
I don't
these
want
are
answers.
questions, right? I don't want these
questions
answers. I don't. I really don't.
So it's like, yeah, my man overshared, and he absolutely managed to turn a game which is about awkward questions.
But he made it super awkward. Like, and also, like, usually these are games that you play with like friends, people that that type of thing. And like, so these are people you are just meeting. You are just even meeting your spouse. You know what I mean? And like, why you yourself would even throw out a question like that? It'd be different if somebody else threw out that question and you were the unfortunate soul that had an answer to that question, and you were just honest about it and was just like, hey, yep, I did, but you picked the question knowing that you will probably be the only person, especially when it came to the woman and her mother. You know what I mean? Especially like you're thinking you're only going to be the only person to answer. You just really want to share this.
I mean, how did you expect people to actually, respond to that? Like, did you think there was going to be a lot of people that said, yeah, man,
he thought it was going to be him.
Family.
And he wanted to be the one to say
it's like, yeah, I hit every branch on the family tree. My guy, no, chill, bro.
And you still keep saying my guy.
He's still my guy. Like, come on, man. We all got those cringy moments in our lifetime.
Do we?
Yes.
Do we have those cringy moments?
I'm not talking about... I'm talking about making things awkward. I'm not talking about...
we don't have those cringy moments.
we don't have those particular experiences. Well, maybe some of us might. I don't know. But I
mean, just even the like making it cringe. You know what I mean? He actively made it cringe.
Yeah, I've made things cringy before. I'm not like this person that's cool in all situations. So
that was that. And we forgot to mention Noi talking about, I wish I had known Steve cheated on somebody before this 20 questions. He should have just lied. And then she gets to dinner and be like, hey, I cheated on somebody.
and Steve was like, wait, did you put your finger down?
And she was like, yeah, I think I did. It's like, no.
I don't think she did. Like, we should roll the tape back.
We know she did not.
And yeah, so Noi perpetrated the fraud.
She really did. She really did. So anyway, so we're on Lindsey and Mark though.
Mark the shark. Swam those infested waters.
He swam. Well, we'll talk about the infested terrain that he traversed in just a minute. But they seem to be getting along well.
Yeah.
All seem to be going well.
Yeah.
We know they got busy. You know, they both seem happy. They had their little pina colada making thing, and he was playing bartender. So, you know, Lindsey was in her elements. And then after that, then they went on a catamaran where she, ended up getting told about herself by Katina. But I think like when Mark was over with the guys talking and saying, he was basically sharing that he feels like her alcohol contributes to, her not loose behavior, like sexually loose, but like loose lips, not thinking about like what she's saying, what she's doing, and that he's not down with that. And he said that he told her that he wasn't down with that, but I don't think he really did. Because when it came to that night, it seemed to kind of like take her off guard.
And then he's talking about the situation between Katina and Lindsey. Mm-hmm. And I think he's just totally throwing her under the bus on that one. Like, I already didn't like that he was the one that he was going up to people and apologizing.
I didn't mind that.
Oh, he was apologizing for her. I didn't like that part. And, that's not his he can't apologize for her. But also, like, he heard about that situation, and he's probably feeling like she's, she brings trauma with him or drama with her wherever she goes. But she didn't start that.
She did.
She did not start that, but he didn't care. Like, I'm sorry, like you are her husband. You're supposed to, care. But then he gets into that. He parlays that whole conversation into, I think we just need to take it slow. It's like, take what slow? Y'all married. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you know what? If that was the case from the beginning, then I can understand that. But that wasn't the case from the beginning. Like, Mark. Like,
and here's the thing, and what we didn't know at the time that we watched the episode, on the after party, she shared that they had intercourse 3 times that day. The airplane incident was the day before. You know what I mean? So if you was thinking she brings drama, she's a little loud when she's, had too much alcohol, blah, 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 blah. You was already thinking it before that point. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think that made it doubly, difficult for her to hear when he said it in that moment, because like, where is this coming from all of a sudden? You know what I mean? And I don't know if his conversations with the guys kind of clarified for him, like what he's thinking or whatever. And he could be thinking that, but certainly I think that there's a different way that he could have shared it, because I think that like the way he came off with the, let's just slow down, type thing, I don't think that's the way to do it.
He was all about matching her intensity up until that point. Like everything about Mark and Lindsey was, hey, look how crazy we are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Both of them.
Right.
Look how intense we are. Both of them, not just her.
Right.
And now suddenly it's just her.
He did say that she was more intense than he was, and that she was more, at a couple different times, he was just like, she's a lot. You know what I mean?
But what's funny about it is we thought that he was going to be the one that she was going to be the one that said something to hurt him, and it turned out that Mark sharked it up.
Well, I mean, he definitely did, but we wasn't just saying her, at least not episode 1 anyway. We were saying together that because of their intensity, that there might be some issues with communication there, but that her lack of filter might be a problem, especially with the things that her dad said about her vicious tongue, what her dad said or whatever. But Lindsey, like, she did let him know. She was like, what are you asking for? And I'm glad that she was direct, like, what exactly are you asking for? Like, what does slow down mean for you? What does back up for me mean for you? Because when I back up, I back all the way up. She was like, so you want to back up? So how about you stop chewing with your mouth open and asking me to ignore that? How about you stop farting in the bed and farting with the bathroom door open and clogging up the toilet? You know, she was like, how about you not do that? Because if we ain't close, we ain't close. Yeah. You know what I mean? I feel that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I told you she was going to feel rejected. Like the whole conversation, I'm like, she's going to feel rejected. You didn't believe me.
That's not what I said. I didn't say she wouldn't feel rejected. I said his intention and her feelings are two different things. But I mean, we have more clarity about the situation too. You know, we know more about what happened from the after party, and you know, we heard more about their conversation, and we also got a chance to hear her side of things, which we had not heard up until that point, and he didn't dispute. So I think that does change things. But you know, I do think he has a right to his feelings, but he could have went about that a different way.
That feeling shift came out of nowhere though, and I don't think that was right. Like I don't think it came out of nowhere, because he said even the day before about the drama and that he's not really about that or whatever. I don't feel like it came out of nowhere. And then he gonna
but I think the slow down thing.
He all surprised. He gonna act like he all surprised when she's like, okay, let's do it. And then, you know, she matched his intensity. Mm-hmm. She was like, okay, let's slow down. And this is slowed down. Like now, you know, everything is slowed down. And he was just like, oh, wait. Because what he wanted was for him to be able to dictate the pace at which they went. And when she said, like, well, this is how I move. You want to be in this union as two separate entities, then boom, this is how you move, this is how I move. So all of the loving that he...
But he didn't say two separate entities, though. That's not what he said.
But that's how she took it. And you know
that
what?
That is how she took it.
That's how she took it. And you know what? I don't blame her.
So anyway, that's Lindsey and Mark.
Yeah.
Who we got next? We did Noi, Steve, Lindsey, Mark, Jasmina and Michael. So they seem to have started out with a disagreement, and Michael feeling like he got cut off the day on the boat, and
he was talking about who's done it, and he was like, "It's only been what
3 or 4 days, yeah." And he looks at her like,
and she makes a statement, and
right.
Suddenly.
So I think this is how it was playing out in Michael's mind. He was going to say, it's been 3-4 days, as if he doesn't know that it's only been 3-4 days. And he wants her to say,
yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then I think blah, 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 blah. He was trying to like draw her into what he was going to say by having her affirm what he was going to say. So he kind of like lobbed that here. I'm not really throwing you the ball. I want you to just like tap it right back to me with a yes. And she didn't know that that's what he was doing. And when he looked at her, like, she said, okay, well, I think blah, 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 blah. And then the conversation never went back to him. He didn't grab it back, and the other people moved on. And he felt like that's her fault.
Yeah. And that's not cutting somebody off.
It's not.
Because you gave her the opportunity to speak. It was like, okay, so this is what I think, and what do you, and you know, is this right? And instead of her just saying, yeah, she made a whole statement, and it was like, that's not cutting the body off. I'm sorry.
It's not. And I think, like he had in his mind what he wanted to say about it. And because he didn't get it off, it was her fault. And
plus, he's asking her how long it's been. Like,
right.
Literally everybody in this room, and on this boat, is in the same exact time frame, or in the same exact day.
Exactly.
It's only been 2 to 3 days. Like, they all freaking know the answer to that question.
Right. So he was expecting her to softball it back, and she was like, okay, he's looking at me, I'll say what I think now, And
I'm wondering, I'm wondering if, he's just drawing the tip because either he wants to start a fight, he's thinking something negative, he's like building up something negative in his head, and he's latching on to it. I'm trying to wondering how he how he got to that conclusion.
It's all of that.
Start a problem.
It's all of that. He was stewing over the fact that he didn't get a chance to say what was on his mind, and when he could have, when she finished speaking, added his thoughts right then, or like he could have re-entered the conversation. He chose not to, but apparently that's Jasmine's fault.
But the point that he was trying to make, I mean, at least to that point, it was totally, unnecessary. Cause,
but we don't know what his full point was.
I'm pretty sure the point was it's only been 3 days. We're not ready for it.
Jasmina had more to say than that. You know what I mean? And so maybe she even shared what he was going to share. We don't know what he was going to share because he didn't get a chance to say it.
Yeah,
but the point was that she didn't cut him off. But what was, outstanding about, not outstanding like yay, but what stood out about that to me was where she was sharing how she felt like he was demeaning her and disrespecting her when he shared, that he was upset about that. And she was saying like, I don't even know if I want to be in this marriage, like stuff like that. Like she was really mad.
If that's how it was going to be, if that's how it's going to be, then, anybody in their right mind would question something like that.
Yeah, so she was questioning it. But they seem to have squashed it. They talked about it or whatever. They talked about how they communicate and, all of that. And so, hopefully things are...
But even that conversation didn't go too well.
It didn't go great, but they did have it. You know what I mean? And I think that is a growth point in communication. Like every conversation is not going to go well, but you still need to have those conversations. You both still need to know how you feel about the situation.
And I didn't he asked for an apology. I don't think she needed to give one. I don't think he deserved one. Mm-hmm. I don't think one was necessary. But, she hit him with the, I'm sorry you feel that way. And he responded accordingly because that's not an apology.
But she wasn't trying to give him an apology either.
So she shouldn't have said anything. That's the point. Like, don't say anything if you don't want to apologize. Don't sarcastically apologize if you're not going to express regret. Just don't do it. It was necessary. She did not owe him an apology. She didn't do anything wrong. So him demanding an apology in the instance where no harm was done, I think all of that is, unnecessary and kind of immature. So he definitely lost points with me on this episode. I was kind of, looking to him to giving him the benefit of the doubt because we know he's had, relationship issues with opening up and, with women in the past. And I don't know, I feel like he brought up something that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like I said yesterday, he drew a tip. It's kind of what we used to say. He made up something to be mad about and push it over the edge and then demand an apology. And
none was forthcoming.
And he definitely didn't get it.
No.
But I don't know.
But they did have another conversation at the beach bar, which was hilarious to me. And not the conversation, but the setup around the conversation, because I'm always looking at what people are drinking. And they were drinking these, it looks like the kind of pina coladas that are in the pineapple basket. They're made for two and there's 2 straws in it. But each of them were drinking one and the other straw was just out the other end. And it was just like, wow. They're like, no, we're not going to sit here and share this giant pina colada. We just going to stir this ourselves and talk about our feelings.
Yeah, I wondered why they didn't actually just take the other straws out.
Right.
Why just leave those 2 extra straws?
And they're colorful straws too.
Yeah.
But she did talk about how that whole looking for something to be wrong, and she was like, I don't want to beat a dead horse about what your sisters say, but I did want to talk some more about that. And it seemed like he was sharing that he definitely overthinks, and particularly in situations where he feels like his effort might be misunderstood. And I don't know if they gained any clarity about that. Hopefully she did understand what he was saying, about the fact that he, is kind of like looking at it like, here I am, trying, but I know that my effort may not be to the level that you're used to, but that's like what I know how to do. You know what I mean? So, I mean, they did have, that conversation. I don't know how extensive it was because we only saw a little bit of it. I didn't feel like we actually saw a whole lot of them.
Nah, not
this episode.
Nah, not this episode. I don't think it was too much. They didn't give too much this episode, but it happens like that sometimes.
Yeah.
So on to the final couple.
Alyssa and her evil twin, Melissa. I feel like this was just all about Alyssa. I don't even want to put Chris in it because he's too nice and I don't want to associate him with her.
Yeah, because at this point, like, you can't even... You never really could assume that it was anything that Chris did. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and what's really bothering me is that, like, she's still gaslighting this man.
But homegirl has made it up in her head that she is not doing anything wrong.
Nothing.
It's
all his fault.
She's being nice to him. Like, how? Like, I can't see that. And, like, I raised the theory yesterday that, like, they had one moment where they did the paddle boarding.
It was more than one moment. I told you yesterday.
They had that moment when they did the paddle boarding, and it seemed like they might possibly at least get along. Mm-hmm. They seemed like, and then I feel like as soon as she realized that she was being nice to somebody that she doesn't want to be nice to, she decided to kick it up a notch. Like, I really do. I feel like she doesn't want to be nice to him under any circumstances. So, like, they was like chilling on the beach and she was being nasty to him. Then he wanted to go snorkeling or what is this? Snoobling?
Snoobling? No, I don't know. It's something.
I think it's snoobling or something.
It's not that, but it's a combination of snorkel and scuba.
And she didn't want to do it. So she sat in the restaurant and cried, like, and she just.
So Kareem was saying that he felt like she had let her guard down in those moments where she was being nice to him. I said, I don't agree that she was letting her guard down. I think she was trying to put on, a front for the cameras. And we already seen that her mom has told her that she's, might look bad, or I think she was trying to put it on a front for the cameras. I also think particularly when it came to the paddleboard incident, or not incident, but paddleboard, experience, thank you, that she was doing something that she thought was very fun. And the fact that he wasn't right next to her doing it, all the more fun. You know what I mean?
Because he couldn't do it.
Right.
But he's trying to do it, something that he can't do, and he's falling in the water, and it's got to be frustrating and not really fun for him. But he
actually seemed like, this is a brand new experience. This is not fun. I wish I was doing better, but so what? It's fun. I know I'm learning something new.
But he's doing something that he wouldn't normally do. Obviously, he's never done it before, and because it's something that she wants to do. But then they ask her to go swimming with fish. It's like you couldn't twist.
She was like, "Oh my God, I don't want to go swimming with him. I don't want to be around him. I don't want to be here." And like the producer, like before she started to cry and stuff, the producer was like, "Well, Alyssa, like, what would you like to be doing? Okay, you don't want to go, scuba snorkeling. She was like, I want to leave here. I don't want to be here. I want to leave." And, they probed a little bit. She was like, I don't want to be here. I don't like him. I don't want to go swimming with him. And I'm mad at my mom. She really was like, I'm mad at my mommy.
Like, homeboy came out the water after going...
Wait. Not yet. Because more happened. So she's talking about the mom. She's talking about how the experts, set her up. And then she said, it's raining. I was like, even the rain, you feel like even the rain is conspiring against you. And literally in tropical places, like it rains for like 15 minutes and stops. You know what I mean? But you are really like, I just want to sit here, eat this salad with my no chin. And I want to like, just feel like woe is me because he is out there swimming. And I'm just mad that I have to be here because there's only one production crew and we have to do things together. So they're not going to follow me and follow him. So we have to be in the same place. And I'm upset about that.
Mm-hmm. And there was like, they were having a conversation about their relationship. Wasn't the one where she said she saw a psychic or something like that?
Oh, the conversation was not about the relationship, but she did say, he asked her about like, kind of like her, I forgot how they got on it, like their expectations, or I don't remember how they got on it, to be honest. Do you?
Nah.
So nevertheless, but she said that she saw a psychic. Her psychic told her, and the seeing a psychic was years prior. It wasn't like I came on the show. No. It was prior. And so I saw a psychic and he was like, okay, so what did she say he would be like? She said he had beautiful eyes, and Chris does have nice eyes, but obviously this is not Chris that he's talking about. And she was like, and he would have an eagle tattoo. And Chris was like, well, nice birds, but no tattoo for me. Haha. He did have a music note tattoo on his like shoulder or something. I was curious about that. Nobody asked him about his tattoo. She could have asked him about his tattoo, but instead she wanted to cry, and just be sad that, he's not tall, dark, tan, with nice teeth, and he rides horses.
Yeah. I can't even say kudos to him for trying. I think he's probably also in the boat where, like, if we're going to be together, I might as well try. But I'm pretty sure.
But, I think from the very beginning, he seems to be, like, open to this experience. And, he's seen this show before. He knows that there's been people that, weren't initially attracted to each other that ended up working out just fine. And at the very least, if what she said was true about, let's just be on this experience together and, build a friendship or whatever. Remember what she said at the hotel before they even went to the honeymoon, when they had that, like, after midnight talk or whatever. And she was like, he was like, so are you feeling like there's like no chance? She was like, let's just be on this experience together. We're going to go to our honeymoon and we're going to have a good experience. And, for as long as this lasts, just be on this experience together. But then literally she doesn't want to be on this experience with him. So you're already talking out both sides of your neck. You know what I mean? Like, you are a liar. You are a horrible person. I don't like anything about her.
Homeboy got out the water and he's sitting there talking to the camera like, it would have been great to, have done this experience with my wife, but, I'm just going to go over there and check on her. And then she tells the camera crew, tell him don't come over.
Don't come over here. Tell him stay away. Don't come over here.
Like, she's so dramatic about it. Like, we would not like you. We would not dislike you as much if you wasn't so dramatic about it.
She really acts like this man is Quasimodo.
Like, and my man.
And even Quasimodo was a nice person.
And listen, people keep bringing it up. She's not like the bomb diggity. No. She's not like,
no diggity, no doubt.
She's not like drop dead gorgeous. She's, and I don't want to say, I don't want to like.
We're not gonna look shame her, even though I talked about her shin or her lack thereof. We're not gonna look shame her the way she like body shamed him when he took off his shirt. We're not gonna do that.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. But listen, man, you not like this perfect. You probably not his dream girl either.
But and the thing about it is, but he was open to you being.
He was,
what I mean?
He was open to y'all building something. Like, it's not always about, like, I don't think he's like just just troll walking around. You know what I'm saying?
No.
He's an average looking guy.
Right.
Look good in the suit, like the little blue suit that he did for the wedding and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he an average looking guy. It's not like, you know, he's not a bridge troll, you know, kidnapping the princess.
And you know, and not only is he not ugly, he's also really nice.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He keeps demonstrating that he's, and not just nice, but also level-headed when he should be flying off the handle. You know what I mean? Just like really even keel, really level-headed, really thinks before he speaks.
Yeah.
You know, all of those things. And, you know, definitely more than she deserves.
So if I'm him, you know, I'm letting it go. I'm not trying. Like, I'm not going nowhere near her unless it's situations where I have to be. Like those little couples rounds tables or whatever. I'm going on excursions by myself. I'm on excursions by myself. I'm going, you know, shopping, whatever. Unless I have to be in the same place with her at the same time. Like, I wouldn't even try. Like, they're serious. Like, they wouldn't have nothing to talk about unless it was a point where we had to be next to each other. Because, like, it's not worth trying at this point. It's really not. I mean, and this is only like 2 or 3 days in to the marriage, and it's just not going to work. But she's the worst. She's not a good person. Like, I'm not saying people deserve heartbreak, but it kind of makes you question what really happened in that relationship when homeboy came home and was like, yeah, I'm not feeling this no more.
Right.
Like, don't even cook dinner.
But also, so we know that she's a pathological liar, right? We know this to be true.
Yeah.
You know, we know that she's a gaslighter, all of those things. And we also know, because we've talked about it, that she told that story 2 different ways.
Did she?
Yes. Remember, first she said he called from the car.
Yeah, she did.
And said, and then she said, he came home and said. So, and like, this is something that happened to you. That was a pivotal moment in your life.
And it wasn't that
you know
long
how
ago.
it happened.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
that.
saying? So I'm like, this probably never happened.
But when she told that story, we was all like, oh, that's messed up. You told her not to cook dinner, bro.
So I believe that she told that story to get on the show. She said she made that up for the experts. She wanted to show herself as, you know,
a tragic victim,
but also as a doting, loving person. Look, I'm in here cooking dinner. I'm doing all of these things for him. Just like she said, I'm so nice to Chris. I'm literally the nicest person. That's what she was saying. Yeah. I'm so selfless. I'm like the nicest person, you know. And it's like, to whom?
You just told the producers not to bring your husband over there because you didn't want to talk. That man ain't did nothing
to you. Nothing.
Ain't did nothing. Ain't raised his voice at you. The worst thing he did was tell you the truth and that you was a liar.
And he didn't even say it like that. She said it like that. She was like, "Are you saying that I'm not trying?" He was like, "I have not seen you do anything that's trying," you know, and that is the truth. Oh, so you're saying I'm a liar? Well, I mean, if you're saying you're a liar,
no, he said yes.
Because
yes.
I'm saying you haven't done anything.
His response was yes.
Okay, well, I mean, still the truth.
I mean, yeah, and you know, he told her the truth, and you backed him into that corner. He wasn't gonna lie. He didn't. He's not gonna lie to you. He told you the truth.
And then she said, "I'm not gonna film with him. I'm not gonna film with him." And she goes in the other room and she picks up a piece of paper and holds it up on the side of her face, like, "Don't get me on camera."
This woman is a child, but yeah, she's the worst, man.
I think that's it.
Yeah, it's definitely the villain of the show.
Yep, that's the last word. Alyssa is trash. I think that's what we're going to title this episode. Yeah. Alyssa is trash. I hope you all have a wonderful evening or day or morning or afternoon, wherever you might be watching this. Once again, please subscribe, like, drop us a comment to This Deluxe Life TV. Check out All the Way Live Media. And my name is T. That is Kareem. And thank you again. Talk to you sooner.
Peace out.
Bye.